Alien girl wears human shirt. He can't look at her without blushing. Not right now anyway. Right now, Jackson couldn't look at her without tasting dust and bile. His hands bound behind him with some kind of fibrous alien vine that smelled like ozone and regret. He was kneeling in the shimmering sand, the twin suns of this rock searing the back of his neck. Above him she stood, framed against the burning sky. Her species, the Canthar, were legends, whispers in backwater bars about iridescent skin, impossible strength, and rituals that ended in either death or tidy other things no one talked about openly. She was taller than him, maybe a head, and built like she bench-pressed asteroids for fun. Her bioluminescent patterns pulsed faintly under her deep violet skin, swirling across her shoulders and down her arms like living tattoos. Her eyes, large and insectoid but somehow fiercely expressive, fixed on him. They were a stark, glittering gold. A low hum resonated from her throat nodes, a sound that vibrated in his bones. "Human," she said, the sound like grinding rock, surprisingly feminine beneath the hum. "You fall from sky. You trespass sacred path. You are forfeit." Jackson spat grit. "Forfeit? Listen, lady, my ship went down. Not exactly a planned stop. Just trying to survive." His voice was rough, drier than the air. He was a bounty hunter, a survivor, a smartass even when he was probably about to be ritualistically sacrificed. Old habits. She tilted her head, the elaborate bone and mineral headpiece she wore catching the light. "Survival is earned, not given. Your vessel's failure does not absolve your intrusion." She gestured with a hand that had 3 thick fingers ending in wicked-looking claws. "The path is for the trialed, not stray debris. Stray debris. Charming. Look, how about you untie me? I fix my ship and I'm gone. No harm, no foul." He tried to grin, but it felt brittle. She didn't grin back. Canthar faces weren't really built for it, he guessed. Their mandibles shifted slightly when they spoke, adding an unsettling nuance. "The path demands completion once entered. It does not permit exit save through the ritual." Ritual. Great. Always a fucking ritual with these species. His mind raced, cataloging options. Fight. Impossible while bound and surrounded by. He scanned the shimmering dunes, seeing shadows that moved too deliberately to be natural rock formations. Escape? Unlikely. Talk his way out? Currently failing spectacularly. "All right, let's talk ritual," he said, stalling. "What does this ritual entail? Lot of chanting? Sacrifices? Virgins?" He regretted the last one immediately. Her golden eyes narrowed slightly. The humming in her throat deepened, a low growl. "It entails proving worth, resilience, dominance. It entails the joining of life force." She took a step closer. The sand didn't seem to shift under her weight. "The path leads to the crucible. There the trial is met. The joining is decreed." Joining of life force? That sounded. "Well ahead, Jamin Sebalotep. For my pult Tom Howtoad. But omen no the may temel. But omen no the may temel. These am afraid metemolts pacto. Temedizing purpose a praise. Nagtematobrachide. Nagtematobrachide. Mivas if tornis and a graptabis. The with coins post fairy foam woodfall. Beloved lomadol crime do basic bade. Intimate, and probably painful. He suppressed a shiver. Right, life force joining. Any chance this ritual involves a hot shower and maybe some actual food first? Crash landing is hell on the digestion. Her mandibles clicked faintly. It might have been amusement or contempt, hard to tell. The path provides only what is needed. The trial consumes all else. She knelt then, moving with fluid, alien grace despite her bulk. He tensed, expecting a blow. Instead, she reached out, her thick fingers brushing his arm, tracing the human lines of muscle and bone beneath the battered fabric of his flight suit. The bioluminescent patterns under her skin flared faintly where she touched him. A jolt went through him, not pain, but something like static electricity combined with a sudden, intense heat. It settled deep in his gut. What the hell was that? He tried to pull away, but her grip was firm. "Your skin is soft," she rumbled, the sound vibrating through him. "Fragile. Yet you survived the descent." Her gaze seemed to bore into him, assessing, probing. It felt less like a threat and more like a curiosity. Dangerous curiosity. "Yeah, well, I'm a tough son of a bitch," he muttered, his sarcasm a defense mechanism. His skin felt like it was burning where she touched him. Takes more than a little planetary gravity to break me. We will see, she said, her voice dropping lower. She stood again, retrieving a long obsidian staff from the sand nearby. With a flick of her wrist, the sharp end pressed against the vines binding him. They snapped. Instantly, he rubbed his wrists, flexing his fingers, keeping his eyes on her. She was fast. Too fast. Get up, she commanded, turning her back to him and starting to walk deeper into the shimmering wasteland, towards distant, spire-like rock formations that pulsed with a faint, internal light. The crucible, maybe? Walk the path. The trial begins now. He hesitated for only a second. Running was suicide out here. Fighting her, alone, was suicide. Following her, well, that was probably also suicide, but at least it deferred the outcome. He scrambled to his feet, stumbling slightly in the deep sand. His joints ached. His head throbbed. His ship was a smoking crater miles behind him. Lead the way, I guess, he said, forcing a swagger he didn't feel. Just try not to get lost. I'm terrible with directions. The walk was grueling. The twin suns seemed to multiply in intensity, the magnetic sand playing tricks on his eyes. The air tasted of minerals and something sharp, like cut metal. His boots sank with every step, pulling at muscles already protesting the crash. She, the Qatar warrior, walked with effortless grace 10 feet ahead, never looking back, her pace relentless. The humming from her throat nodes was a constant low thrum in the stillness. He watched the sway of her hips, the powerful muscles defined under her strange skin, the way her bioluminescent patterns shifted and flowed with her movement. It was mesmerizing, disturbing, and intensely alien. So, what exactly is this path? He wheezed after an hour that felt like 10. Is it just walking until one of us collapses? She didn't slow. Her voice came back, clear despite the distance. The path is a test of endurance, of will. It strips away the weak. It reveals intent. His intent right now was to find water and maybe a shady spot, and possibly not get joined to a giant alien woman. My intent is not to be here, he grumbled under his breath. Louder, he said. And what if I fail? What does the path do to the weak? She stopped then, finally turning to face him. The heat radiating off her felt palpable. Failure is consumption. The path reclaims what it has not deemed worthy. She gestured to the shimmering sand, the spire formations pulsing in the distance. This world lives, it hungers, it absorbs. Fantastic. Eaten by the planet. Just his luck. Right, so, succeed or be absorbed. Crystal clear. He trudged closer, collapsing onto his knees for a moment to catch his breath, ignoring the sting of the magnetic sand on his worn pants. She watched him, silent, that assessing gaze making his skin prickle. It wasn't just physical exhaustion making him feel exposed. You are. Slow, she observed, stating it like a fact, not a criticism. Your form is inefficient for this terrain. Yeah, well, my form is built for piloting spaceships and dodging laser fire, not sand marathons, he retorted, pushing himself back up. Besides, I just survived a crash. Cut me some slack. Slack is not offered on the path, she said. Only progress. She started walking again. He swore under his breath and followed. The spires were growing closer now, their light pulsing with a more regular, hypnotic rhythm. They looked less like rock formations and more like giant calcified organs of the planet itself. As they drew nearer, the air grew heavy, charged with a strange energy. The humming from her throat nodes intensified, and her bioluminescent patterns flared brighter, synchronizing with the pulse of the spires. He felt it too, a vibration deep inside him, echoing the static jolt from earlier. What the hell is that feeling? He asked, looking around wildly. It's like
my teeth are buzzing.
The crucible approaches, she said, not turning. Its energy resonates with life force. It prepares for the trial. Great. Buzzing teeth and a life force draining crucible. He really needed a new line of work. As they finally reached the base of the spires, the scale was overwhelming. They soared hundreds of feet into the sky, forming a rough circle around a central, open area. The ground within the circle was different, smoother, made of dark, polished stone that absorbed the light rather than reflecting it. And standing at the edge of this stone circle were figures, many figures. Cathar. Their bioluminescence was muted, their forms cloaked in heavy woven wraps against the glare. They stood silent, still, watching. Elders, he guessed. the patriarchal types the legends mentioned, and they looked about as welcoming as a pack of space wolves. "The council," she said, her voice taking on a formal, almost rigid tone. "They witness the trial. They decree the outcome." She walked towards the stone circle, towards the silent, cloaked figures. "Come, human, the path has brought you here. Now face the crucible." He followed, his heart hammering against his ribs. The static feeling was stronger now, an insistent pressure behind his eyes. As he stepped onto the dark stone, the humming from her throat nodes flared again, and she stopped directly in front of him, much closer this time. Her golden eyes met his, intense, unblinking. The air crackled. "Human," she said, her voice low for his ears alone. "You stand before the council, before the crucible. You are here for the trial of worth. If you fail, you are consumed. If you succeed—" She paused, her gaze dropping to his chest, then back up to his eyes. "You are claimed. By the trialer. By me. Claimed?" That was a new one. "Claimed? What, like a prize?" He scoffed, trying to inject humor into rising panic. "Do I get a ribbon?" Her hand shot out quick as a snake, her fingers closing around his wrist. The static jolt returned, stronger, hotter, making his vision swim for a second. Her bioluminescence pulsed violently where she touched him, and he felt a strange, deep connection, a resonance that went bone deep. "You will understand, claiming human," she said, her voice a low growl. Soon, her grip on his wrist tightened, and she pulled him forward, deeper into the crucible circle. The cloaked figures of the council remained silent, their presence a heavy weight in the air. Their eyes, visible in the shadows of their hoods, were dark and ancient. As they reached the center of the circle, she stopped again, facing the largest of the spires, which seemed to hum louder than the others. "Council," she announced, her voice projected across the space, losing its low intimacy and becoming a powerful, commanding force. "I, Kantharka Vera, bring the human, fallen from the sky upon the sacred path. He has reached the crucible. I present him for the trial of worth." A slow, resonant hum echoed from the council figures, a collective response that resonated through the stone under his feet. One of the cloaked figures, clearly the elder of the group, stepped slightly forward. Its voice, when it spoke, was a dry, grating sound, like pebbles shifting. "Verera, this creature is weak, soft, unmarked by the path's intention. It is unworthy of the trial." Vera turned her head slightly, addressing the elder but keeping her body angled towards Jackson, like a shield. "He survived the crash. He walked the path. He stands here now. The crucible will judge his worth." "The crucible judges what the path presents," the elder rasped. "You claim him for trial, Vera. You claim the risk. If he fails, your standing suffers. Your lineage is shamed." Vera's mandibles clicked, a sound of defiance. "My standing is my own. My lineage is strong. I claim the risk. I claim the trial." She looked at Jackson then, her golden eyes burning into him. "Human, the trial is simple. You must endure the crucible's resonance. You must prove your life force is strong enough to withstand the joining. You must accept the claim." Accept the claim? Endure resonance? This was all getting very weird, very fast. "Hold on, accept what claim? What joining? What happens if I don't accept?" he asked, his voice tight. She leaned closer, lowering her voice again. "Refusal is failure. Failure is consumption." She tapped his chest with a thick finger. "Your life force fuels the crucible. If it is weak, or if you resist the natural flow, it will be drawn out, used. You will become dust." The static feeling intensified, spreading from his gut to his limbs. He felt a strange pressure, like something invisible was trying to press into his very core. His body wanted to tense, to fight it, but Vera's grip on his wrist felt like an anchor, or maybe a guide. "Natural flow? What flow? This feels like I'm being scanned by a faulty transporter." "It is the flow of possibility," she said, her voice low and intense. "The crucible offers union, strength through shared essence. It seeks a match. Match? Union? Was this their bizarre mating ritual? Through a painful energy blast? Union with dull. What? The crucible? You?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, her free hand rose, hovering over his chest. Her bioluminescent patterns flared, pulsing in time with the crucible's hum. "You must surrender to the resonance," she instructed. "Let it enter you. Do not fight the flow. Think not of escape or resistance. Think only of acceptance. Acceptance of what? Becoming dust. Becoming claimed? Acceptance of what, exactly? He repeated, desperate for a straight answer. Acceptance of this, she said, and with sudden, swift movement, she pressed her palm flat against his chest, right over his heart. The static jolt became a shockwave. Heat flooded his body, originating from where she touched him and spreading like wildfire. The crucible's hum became a roar in his ears. His vision went white for a second, filled with the pulsing, swirling light of her bioluminescence. He gasped, his body arching against the unexpected intensity. It felt like being simultaneously burned and pulled apart at a molecular level. Through the white-hot haze, he saw her face, her golden eyes wide and fixed on his, her mandibles slightly parted. The humming from her throat was a deep, guttural thrum. Was she? Chung. Feeling this too? Or was she just watching him break? He wanted to scream, to thrash, to run. Every instinct screamed danger, violation, annihilation. But Vera's voice, surprisingly calm amidst the storm of energy, cut through the panic. Breathe, human. Surrender. Let it flow. Let the crucible see you. See your life force. His mind reeled. Surrender? To this, it felt like death, but fighting it felt worse, like tearing his own soul apart. He thought of the consuming sand, of the cold void of space. Survival, that's what she said. Survival was earned. Maybe this was earning it. He forced himself to relax his muscles, to let the energy wash over him, through him. He focused on her hand on his chest, the unexpected warmth beneath the searing heat, the pulse of her life against his. He focused on her eyes, seeing something in their depth that wasn't just predatory but ancient, waiting. He focused on the low hum from her throat, feeling it resonate with the buzz inside his own skull now. It wasn't just pain anymore. There was a connection, an awareness of her presence, her energy, in a way that was profoundly physical. It was terrifying. It was also undeniably intense. The intensity of the resonance peaked, a blinding flash of light and heat that felt like a star exploding inside him. Then, as suddenly as it began, it receded. The roaring in his ears faded, replaced by the low hum of the crucible and the still-present deeper thrum from Vera. He stumbled back a step, gasping, wiping a hand across his eyes. His chest felt raw, vibrating with a strange after-effect. His vision cleared. Vera was still standing there, her hand lowered, her bioluminescent patterns returning to their normal, subtle pulse. Her golden eyes, however, were different, wide, unsettled, and fixed on him with an intensity that was now less assessing and more shocked. What? What the hell just happened? He croaked, his voice hoarse. Did I pass? Did I fail? Am I dust? She didn't answer immediately. She looked down at his chest, where her hand had been. He followed her gaze. On the skin there, slightly off-center over his heart, a faint pattern was beginning to emerge. It was a swirling, complex design made of light, mirroring the bioluminescence on her own skin, but pulsing with a steady internal glow. It felt warm against his skin. A mark. You. Da do. I warn holdazak. A mark awabo one. Edo onamund lubo kosh chaverquated. A mark of crow whether furzili jet port to dolaganakadat pert. You accepted? She said, her voice barely a whisper, the commanding tone gone. You let the resonance flow. You. Friedeni. Frieden all ballier dabby. Frieden all ballier dabby bolu creed the ball the nation. Frieden all ballier dabby. Frieden all ballier dabby bolu creed the ball the nation. Frieden all ballier dabby bolu creed the ball the nation. Frieden all ballier dabby bolu creed the ball the nation on it. Resonated. The elder's grating voice cut in from the edge of the circle. Impossible. The human form is not meant to contain the crucible's flow. It should have dissolved. Vera ignored the elder. Her eyes were locked on the glowing mark on his chest. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached out, her fingers hovering just above the light. It? Dolly should have purged you, she murmured more to herself than him. Your life force should have been consumed. The crucible should have seen only the foreign, the weak. Yeah, well, guess I'm full of surprises, Jackson said. Though he didn't feel surprised, he felt fundamentally altered. The mark pulsed, warm, reassuring, but also terrifyingly permanent. What was it? What is this thing? He asked, touching it lightly. The light shifted under his fingers. It is Hotu Mop Night Emotional Mummelball. The mark, Vera said, finally meeting his eyes again. The mark of resonance. It signifies compatibility. It means the trial is not yet complete. I thought I passed the endure the resonance part. That was the test of your life force's strength, she explained, her voice slowly regaining some of its earlier control, though it was softer now. The mark proves you are capable of carrying the energy, but the trial requires the joining. The joining, he repeated flatly, which is, what, more glowing? It is the union of essence, she said, her gaze dropping again to his chest, then flicking lower across his body. The assessment was back, but it was different, more carnal. The crucible has prepared you. The mark has bound you to the possibility. The joining requires D-mill, physical completion. His brain, already struggling with alien energy marks and philosophical sand-eating planets, screeched to a halt. Physical completion? Yes, she confirmed, her voice low and charged. The mark will not become permanent. The bond will not solidify until the energy flows between us, until we join physically. Oh, this was the joining of life force. Right, so you're saying, cute the trial. What the trial? Is basically, all? Sex, he asked, feeling his face heat up despite the desert air. Her mandibles clicked again, a sound he was starting to associate with amusement. Sex, is that the term? The physical act of tulu al being. The physical act of monument wall of racing was organ inherit is sto. Union? Yes, human. The trial culminates in the physical joining. It is how the mark is sealed, how the claim is made absolute. Claim. Right. He was being claimed by a giant bioluminescent energy-marking alien warrior. Because his ship crashed. This was officially the worst bounty hunt gone wrong in the history of bounty hunting. The council elders stirred at the edge of the circle, their low hum turning into a dissonant rumble of disapproval. Vera, you cannot. This creature is alien. It is not of the Cathar. The joining must be with a child of our own. Vera rounded on them, her voice sharp and commanding once more. The crucible has decreed. It has marked him. His resonance is accepted. The trial is of worth, not of species. The rituals forbid it, the elder rasped, taking another step forward. You violate sacred law. I fulfill sacred law, Vera countered. The crucible marks the worthy. I am the trialer. I follow the path where it leads. She turned back to Jackson, her golden eyes fierce, demanding. Human, the mark is upon you. The crucible calls for completion. Do you accept the joining? Do you accept my claim? He looked at her, at the glowing mark on his chest, at the furious elders, at the endless, consuming desert surrounding them. Survival. She was offering him survival on her terms. What happens if I accept the claim? He asked, needing to know the cost. Her gaze was intense. You become mine, bonded, protected by my strength, my lineage. You share in my path, my future. And if he didn't? Consumption by the planet, or probably something worse by the elders. He was trapped, utterly, completely trapped. A sarcastic chuckle escaped him. Well, shit, he muttered. Looks like I'm being claimed by a hot alien warrior. Didn't see that coming today. He met her gaze. All right, Vera, you win. For now, I accept. But the joining, I accept your shall claim. Varera's expression shifted minutely, a flicker of surprise crossing her face before settling back into fierce determination. The mark on Jackson's chest flared brighter at his words. The humming of the crucible intensified, vibrating through the ground. The council elders unleashed a chorus of angry, dissonant hums and guttural clicks. Vera, you proceed with this obscenity? The lead elder shrieked. You defy us? You defy tradition? Tradition serves the living. Vera roared back, her voice resonating with power. The crucible has chosen. Who are you to deny its will? She turned her back on the elders, her focus entirely on Jackson. The joining requires the sacred space, she said, her voice dropping again, urgent now. We must go within the largest spire. Its heart resonates most strongly. She gripped his wrist again, her touch sending that familiar charged static through him, now intertwined with the warm glow of the mark. Move, human. Quickly, she pulled him towards the tallest spire, its internal light pulsing with raw energy. He didn't hesitate this time. He was running on instinct now, on the primal urge to survive. The elders behind them grew louder, their protests turning into commands. He heard the scuff of their cloaked feet on the stone, the rising threat in their hums. They weren't going to let this happen. As they reached the base of the largest spire, a fissure opened in the living rock, glowing with the same intense energy as the mark on his chest. It was an entrance. Vera pulled him through, into the pulsing, warm interior of the spire. The air inside was thick, humid, and alive with vibrating energy. The light was soft, reddish, pulsing from the walls themselves. It smelled like clean rain and something else, something intoxicatingly alien and feminine. They were in a large chamber, circular, with swirling patterns of light moving across the curved surfaces. In the center, a raised platform of the same dark, light-absorbing stone from the crucible floor waited. "Here," Vera said, releasing his wrist but keeping her golden eyes locked on his. Her bioluminescent patterns were now flowing and shifting rapidly across her skin, a mesmerizing display. The heart of the crucible, the place of completion. She took a step towards him, her hand reaching out not with a clawed threat but with deliberate slowness. "The mark shows your readiness, your willingness to receive. Now, we complete the transfer, the union," his heart hammered. Physical completion. With her, the air crackled with unspoken tension, with raw energy and with something deeply, profoundly erotic. This wasn't just some abstract ritual anymore, it was this. Her. Him. This strange, pulsing living room. "Right," he managed, his voice rough. "So, how does this physical joining, de passe fondue, work?" She didn't answer with words. Her fingers, thick and strong, traced the line of his jaw, tilted his head up. Her gaze was intense, assessing, but also something else. A predatory hunger, yes, but mixed with a potent curiosity, maybe even vulnerability. "It requires absolute surrender," she rumbled, her voice lower than ever, the humming in her throat a deep vibration that resonated straight into his bones. "Absolute acceptance of the flow, of the claim." She stepped closer, closing the distance between them. He could feel the heat radiating off her, smell that intoxicating alien scent. She was overwhelming, beautiful in her alienness, and terrifyingly dominant. "You have accepted the claim, human," she said, her eyes dropping to the glowing mark on his chest. "Now you fulfill it." Her hand went to his chest again, not pressing this time but slowly unzipping his battered flight suit. His breath hitched. This was happening. The elders' angry shouts faded into a distant rumble as the spire sealed itself around them. They were alone, trapped, about to complete a ritual that might change him forever. As she pushed the fabric aside, exposing the glowing mark, her bioluminescence flared again, brighter than he'd seen it. She ran her fingers lightly over the mark, and it pulsed under her touch. "Beautiful," she murmured, a sound of appreciation that sent a shiver down his spine. "It fits you." She looked up at him, her golden eyes dark with intent. "Do not resist the flow, human. Let it consume you." "Let me consume you." His mind flashed back to her earlier words. "Failure is consumption. The path reclaims what it has not deemed worthy." Was this consuming him, or claiming him? Was there a difference? What do I do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Accept," she breathed, leaning closer. Her scent filled his senses. "Accept the claiming, the joining." She reached behind his head, her fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him down until their foreheads touched. The glow of the mark on his chest pulsed violently, synchronizing with the flares on her skin and the rhythm of the spire's walls. A sudden, overwhelming flood of sensation hit him. Not just physical heat, but images, feelings, fleeting impressions. Desert winds, ancient rituals, the weight of expectation, fierce pride, loneliness. Her thoughts? Her history? It was too much, too fast. He stumbled back, breaking the contact. "Whoa, what was that?" he gasped, shaking his head. "A taste of the bond," she said, her voice slightly breathless. "The mind sync begins with physical closeness. It is part of the joining. It will grow stronger." Mind sync? Great. Just what he needed. Telepathic alien sex. His sarcastic retort died on his tongue as she stepped forward again, closing the distance he'd created. Her expression was different now, rawer, less dominant, more Twain, needy. The crucible demands completion, she repeated, her voice low and urgent. My body calls for the joining. The mark pulls us together. She reached out and spanned his waist with her large hands, pulling him flush against her. He could feel the solid strength of her body, the intense heat emanating from her. Her glowing patterns pulsed against his skin. This wasn't just a ritual anymore. This was primal. Accept the flow, she whispered against his mouth, her breath warm and humid. Let it take you. And then her mandibles shifted, and she kissed him. It wasn't a human kiss. Her mouth was structured differently, and the kiss was less a pressing of lips and more a fierce, hungry exploration, her mandibles shifting against his skin, her tongue a thick, surprisingly soft probe. It was overwhelming, alien, and incredibly arousing, the energy pulsing between them intensified, the glowing mark on his chest feeling like a furnace. His body reacted instinctively, not to romance, but to the raw alien sensuality, the sheer otherness of it. He found himself gripping her shoulders, pulling her tighter against him, his own body hardening in response to hers. The mind sync was stronger now, a confusing swirl of her alien emotions mixing with his own panic and unexpected desire. He felt her ancient pride, her warrior fierceness, but also a deep, driving biological imperative, a need for this joining that went beyond ritual. He felt the weight of her culture, the pressure from the elders, the gamble she had taken on him. It was vulnerability, raw and unexpected, layered beneath her dominant exterior. She pulled back slightly, just enough to look at him, her golden eyes dilated, wild. The crucible accepts our resonance, she rumbled, her voice thick with emotion. The joining begins. She reached down and with a strength that belied the almost tender touch, she stripped off the remnants of his flight suit, leaving him naked before her. She looked at his human form, her gaze sweeping over him with an intensity that felt like a physical touch. The glowing mark pulsed, casting his chest in an ethereal light. Her own body pulsed in response, her bioluminescent patterns swirling faster, hotter. She was magnificent, terrifying, and utterly captivating. Then, with a fluid movement, she shed her own outer garments, revealing the full glory of her Cathar form. Her skin shimmered, her muscles coiled, and the intricate bioluminescent patterns covered her from head to toe, a living tapestry of light that pulsed with a life of its own. She was breathtaking, and completely ready for this joining. Come, she commanded, her voice a low purr now, pulling him onto the dark stone platform in the center of the chamber. The stone was warm under his feet, humming with energy. She guided him down, not gently, but with purpose, onto the platform. The mind sync intensified, a rush of pure sensation and emotion that stole his breath. He felt her anticipation, her need, her thought possessiveness. She positioned herself over him, her alien anatomy pressing against his, a strange, perfect fit. Accept the flow, human, she whispered, her golden eyes locking with his. The mark on his chest pulsed violently, reaching out, connecting with her glowing skin. He felt it, a pulling sensation, a merging of energies. And then, she moved. It was powerful, primal, driven by instinct and ritual. Her body moved against his, alien friction meeting human flesh, the heat between them escalating with every thrust. The spire hummed, the crucible's energy surrounding them, amplifying the sensations, weaving their life forces together. The mind sync became a torrent, pleasure and need and ancient instinct washing over him, drowning out his conscious thoughts. He felt her climax building, a wave of intense energy gathering within her, making her whole body tremble and glow. And as she reached the peak, she threw her head back, a guttural cry escaping her throat nodes. At the same moment, the mark on his chest flared with blinding intensity, and he felt a sharp, almost painful jolt as something seemed to snap into place deep within him. Her bioluminescence flared, pulsing in perfect sync with the mark. Claimed, she cried out, her voice raw with triumph and something that felt like light in Chapline Port and just hold him with quace. What could they, one of his eddies, and in the couch potion? Relief? The energy receded, leaving them both breathless, trembling, slick with sweat in the humid heat of the spire. He lay there, gasping, the echo of the mind sync still vibrating in his skull, the glowing mark on his chest slowly dimming back to a soft pulse. He was claimed. And somehow, Kenraid, he felt different. Not just physically exhausted from the alien sex, but changed on a deeper level. The mark was still there, warm against his skin, and he could still feel her presence, not just beside him, but somehow, unfeel inside him, a faint, lingering resonance. She shifted, rolling onto her side next to him, her breathing heavy. Her hand reached out, not in a possessive grip this time, but a hesitant touch, her fingers tracing the mark on his chest. "It is done," she murmured, her voice quiet now, lacking the earlier command. "The joining is complete. The mark is sealed." "You are," claimed. He lay there, breathing hard, the aftershocks of the energy flow and the alien sex still rippling through him. The mark on his chest pulsed faintly, a constant reminder of what had just happened. Claimed, sealed, bonded. It felt less like victory and more like permanent entanglement. He looked at Vera beside him, her bioluminescent patterns now calm, her eyes half closed. She looked almost peaceful, vulnerable even, in the soft red light of the spire. "So," daughter claimed, he said, the word feeling strange on his tongue. "What exactly does claimed entail? Beyond all that?" He gestured vaguely between them. She opened her eyes, her golden gaze meeting his. The intensity was still there, but softened by exhaustion. "It means, Honda, you belong to the trialer," she said, her voice low. "To me, your life is forfeit to mine. Your path is bound to mine." Belong? Forfeit? That sounded a lot like ownership. His jaded bounty hunter instincts screamed against it. Belong? Like property? He pushed himself up onto his elbows, wincing as protesting muscles flexed. "Listen, I'm not exactly the belonging type. More of a lone wolf. Lone scavenger. Whatever." She slowly sat up, her alien form moving with languid grace. "Not property," she corrected, though the distinction felt thin. "Bonded, intertwined. The mark signifies this. It is the crucible's judgment of compatibility. The joining confirms it." She touched his chest again, her fingers brushing the mark. "You accepted the claim, you accepted the flow. Your life force is now connected to mine, to the crucible. You are no longer just human. You are Sal too." Mark bonded, with a catar. "Mark bonded," he repeated flatly. This was somehow worse than property. It was like being stapled together on a molecular level. "And what about the elders? The ones who wanted to turn me into sand?" She turned her head, looking towards the spire's entrance, a shadow of concern crossing her face. "They will be displeased," she admitted. "The joining of a mark bonded outside our own lineage is rare, disputed. Some consider it an abomination." "An abomination," he sighed. "Right. So we're bonded abominations?" "This day just keeps getting better." He looked at her, really looked at her. The power, the alien beauty, the unexpected vulnerability she'd shown during the joining, the way she defended him against the elders. She was dangerous. She was magnificent. And she had just fundamentally altered his existence. "Why?" he asked suddenly. "Why me? Why did you bring me here? Why this trial? This claim?" She was silent for a long moment, the humming in her throat, nodes a soft, steady sound. "The path brought you," she said finally. "The crucible saw your resonance. Here, I saw your resilience. Your fire." She met his gaze directly. "My lineage requires a strong bond. A worthy partner. The traditional choices among the council. They are brittle. Decadent. They would weaken the line." She gestured to the mark on his chest. "Your life force is strong, human. Unexpectedly so. The crucible chose you. I accepted its judgment. I claimed you. It was pragmatic, ruthless, and held a strange kernel of Rotacurble Donacotherode Contradonadonips. Rotaki Cabal of Lady Golmich and Hundigans, Embry like Dolmilai. Something? Respect? Need? He didn't know. He just knew he wasn't going anywhere. The mark saw to that. The faint, persistent resonance of her presence inside him saw to that. "So what now?" he asked. "Do I get a tiny Qatar leash? Vera's pet human?" She gave a low sound that might have been a chuckle. "Humor," she observed, even in the face of claiming. "Interesting." She pushed herself fully to her feet, offering him a hand. He took it. Her grip was strong, pulling him up. As they stood, the mark on his chest flared for a moment, and he felt that faint surge of resonance again, a sense of connection he couldn't shake. "Now," she said, her golden eyes fixed on the spire entrance. We face the consequences of the joining. The council will not stand idly by. They will challenge the claim. Challenge! After the whole trial and joining thing? You're kidding me, he muttered. More trials? More rituals? Only one, she said, her voice hard. The challenge of the claim. It is combat, to the death, the challenger against the trialer and the claimed. Combat? To the death? Against the pissed-off elders? Oh, hell! So let me get this straight, he said, trying to process. Your mating ritual involves surviving a desert trek, enduring an energy blast, having world-altering sex, getting a glowing tattoo, and then fighting your angry grandparents to the death? She tilted her head. Simplified, but yes, it is the way. He just stared at her for a moment, then shook his head. Alien women, he muttered, always keeping things interesting. The spore's entrance hissed open, revealing the blinding twin suns outside, and silhouetted against the glare, the menacing forms of the council elders and several hulking Cathar warriors, their armor etched with symbols of lineage and authority. Their humming was no longer a low rumble but a high-pitched, aggressive vibration that set Jackson's teeth on edge. Vera stepped forward, pulling him with her, placing herself slightly in front of him. The glowing mark on his chest pulsed visible in the harsh light, a beacon announcing the completed joining. Council, she called out, her voice ringing with challenge. The joining is complete. The crucible has affirmed the claim. The lead elder, the one with the grating voice, scuttled forward. Vera, you persist in this folly, this abomination? The joiner is impure, unworthy. Vera straightened to her full height, radiating power. His worth was proven on the path. In the crucible, the mark is undeniable. The mark can be purged, the elder screeched. The claim can be broken. By challenge, another elder stepped forward, bulkier than the rest. I, Kentharud Goron, challenger of the claim. I challenge the trialer, Vera, and her creature, for violating sacred law, for shaming the lineages. Goron unsheathed a weapon, a long curved blade that shimmered with captured light. He was huge even for a Cathar, and he looked furious. Jackson felt a knot of ice form in his gut. Fighting pissed-off elders? He was a bounty hunter, not a one-man army against an alien culture. Hold on, creature, he protested, but Vera gripped his arm tightly, silencing him. Accept the challenge, Vera, Goron roared, or be stripped of your standing. Your lineage. Your life. Vera didn't hesitate. I accept the challenge. I, Vera, and my claimed, stand ready. She turned to Jackson, her golden eyes blazing. He is yours, she said, indicating Goron. I will handle the others who dare interfere. Prove your worth again, human. Defend the claim. Defend the claim? Against that? He didn't have a weapon. He didn't have armor. He barely had clothes on. My worth? He sputtered. With what? My winning personality? I don't exactly have a starship or a plasma rifle hidden in my ass crack right now. She gave him a look, part exasperation, part fierce expectation. Use your speed. Your cunning, your surprising resilience. The crucible chose you for a reason. Do not shame its choice. The mark on his chest seemed to burn, feeding him a jolt of adrenaline. He could feel the faint echo of her presence, a connection that felt less like a leash and more like a shared reservoir of strength. Okay, shit, this was happening. He was about to fight a hulking alien warrior in his underwear to defend his forced alien marriage. Goron roared and charged, his massive blade raised. Vera moved like lightning, intercepting another warrior who lunged from the side, her own weapon, an obsidian staff that transformed into a wicked spear appearing in her hands. Jackson scrambled out of Goron's path, rolling in the magnetic sand. The blade sliced through the air where he'd been a second before. Okay, speed. Cunning. His mind raced. Goron was big, powerful, but maybe slow, focused on brute force. Jackson used his human agility, dodging, weaving, trying to stay out of the reach of that lethal blade. He could feel the combined energy of Vera fighting, the hum of the crucible, and the pulsing of his own mark, all swirling together in a chaotic symphony. He needed a weapon. Anything. His eyes darted around the area. The base of the spire. Small, sharp mineral formations jutted from the rock. Not ideal, but maybe. Goron lunged again, and Jackson darted closer than was probably wise, grabbing a jagged shard of rock as he dodged. Goron bellowed in frustration, turning surprisingly fast. Jackson feinted left, rolled right, and plunged the rock shard into Goron's leg. It wasn't deep, but it drew a dark, viscous liquid and made the warrior bellow in pain and rage. "You bite like a sand flea," Goron roared, swinging his blade in a wide, sweeping arc. Jackson dove back, just avoiding being cleaved in two. He saw Vera in his peripheral vision, a whirlwind of alien ferocity, disabling warriors with swift, brutal precision. She was incredible, and she was fighting for him. The connection through the mark flared, a surge of fierce protectiveness from her side, echoing in him. He wasn't fighting alone. Goron pressed the attack, limping slightly, but even more enraged. Jackson realized he couldn't win a direct fight. He needed to use the environment, the magnetic sand. He remembered the strange way it interacted with him on the path, the pull, the distortion, and the way the crucible's energy seemed to flow through it. Jackson dodged another blow, the air whistling past his ear. Goron was bleeding from the leg wound, but his rage seemed to fuel his strength. Vera was finishing off the last of the interfering warriors, leaving only Goron standing against them. The elders watched from the edge of the circle, their humming a furious, expectant chorus. This was it. The final test. Jackson glanced at the glowing mark on his chest, feeling the connection to Vera, to the crucible, to this strange, living world. He had to gamble. "Hey, Goron," he yelled, panting, his body aching. "You think you're so strong? You think you can just waltz in here and break a bond decreed by the crucible?" Goron sneered, his mandibles clicking. "The bond is false. An abomination. You are a parasite." "Oh yeah?" Jackson grinned, a sudden reckless energy surging through him. "Let's see the crucible decide." He ran towards the center of the dark stone platform where the joining had taken place. He could feel the energy pulsing stronger there. Goron, predictable in his rage, followed, limping but still fast. "You cannot escape," Goron roared. As Goron stepped onto the platform, Jackson thrust his hand down, pressing it flat against the warm stone, just like Vera had done to his chest. He focused on the glowing mark on his chest, on the resonance he felt with the stone, with Vera, with the raw energy of the crucible. He willed it to flow. For a second, nothing happened. Goron raised his blade for a killing blow. Then, the stone platform flared with blinding light. A wave of intense energy erupted from it, not just the resonance from earlier, but something wilder, stronger, channeled through Jackson's connection. The magnetic sand surrounding the platform surged upwards, drawn by the amplified energy field, swirling into a vortex around Goron. Goron bellowed in surprise and pain as the sand lashed against him, the raw energy crackling around his armor. He staggered, trying to fight the pull, the disruption. Jackson watched, breathless, his hand still pressed to the stone, the mark on his chest burning hot. He was channeling the crucible, using his accidental bond to weaponize the very ritual that had claimed him. Vera appeared beside him, her eyes wide, watching the spectacle. She placed a hand on his shoulder, and the energy flow intensified, her own power adding to his. "The mark," she exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. "It channels the crucible, it amplifies," Goron roared, struggling against the swirling sand and energy. His movements became erratic, his strength failing against the overwhelming force. With a final agonizing cry, he collapsed onto the platform, the sand consuming him, the light from the stone receding. Silence fell over the crucible. The swirling sand dropped back to the ground. Goron was gone, absorbed, consumed by the path. The elders stared, their ancient faces pale, their humming replaced by shocked silence. Jackson collapsed onto his knees, panting, his hand trembling on the stone. The mark on his chest still pulsed, but it was softer now, settling into a steady rhythm. He had done it. He had defended the claim. Vera knelt beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Respect, awe, maybe even a hint of fear? "You channeled the crucible," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "through the mark. I did not know this was possible." "Neither did I," he wheezed. He looked at the elders. They were backing away slowly, their initial rage replaced by something that looked suspiciously like terror. They had witnessed the impossible. A human, a claimed outsider, using their sacred site against them. They wouldn't challenge the claim again. Not openly, not yet. Vera stood, pulling him up with her. The mark on his chest pulsed, warm and reassuring. He was still claimed, still bonded. But he had proven he wasn't just a passive object in their ritual. He was a force to be reckoned with. He was Vera's claimed, yes. But he was also Jackson, the bounty hunter who somehow survived everything the universe threw at him, including alien mating rituals and angry alien grandparents. He looked at Vera, really looked at her. She was the dominant warrior who had captured him, tested him, claimed him, and now, Julia Pet. Now she was his partner in defying her entire culture. Well, he said, managing a tired grin, looks like we're stuck with each other, huh? She met his gaze, and this time, her mandibles shifted in a way that unmistakably conveyed heart, amusement, and something else, pride. Yes, human, she rumbled, the low hum returning to her throat. You are mine, and I am yours, by the crucible's decree, by the mark's truth. She squeezed his shoulder, her grip possessive, confident. Come. We have much to build, and many to defy, he was claimed. He was Mark bonded. He was an abomination in the eyes of her people, and he was walking away from the crucible beside the most powerful, dangerous, and captivating woman he had ever met. His bounty hunting days were definitely over. Something far stranger, and maybe even more dangerous, had just begun.